Our next speaker is Susan Glynn. Hello,
Hi,
Susan.
Oh,
We can't see
you.
you. Susan is a certified coach for the healing codes, an energy healer, and a personal development coach. And above all of that, Susan is a very spiritual, very gifted,
talented, intelligent
energy healer. Susan is a gifted person.
So you've been in the midst of conflict. I mean, you managed to just dissolve it. I mean, it's
and you help so many people with conflict
and create positive outcomes out of it.
You have an almost magical ability to be able to raise other people's vibration,
right.
and take them into that space, into that almost divine space where you rise above the conflict, where you get a completely different perspective on everything.
I have first-hand knowledge of watching Susan take rage. Then, she stands in the midst of it and goes, it's okay. We're going to, get through this. And you stay with it to the end, with people. Great. As Lana does as well, actually, in her practice with therapy and everything. So it is an amazing talent.
Staying steady to somebody is a really useful thing, because most people do expect you to come back at them and bite into you with their stuff, and then it ends. Basically, I would say, if you want me to just, me press go and I'm off. All you say is so true, David. The reason why that is came out of the things I was observing in my own life, going through my own life, and getting to a place where I began to drill down to simpler and simpler and simpler points of exactly what is going on with us that makes us feel like we're uncomfortable or we're not safe. We don't feel secure in life. We don't feel sufficient. We don't feel good enough. The very basic core human attitudes to ourselves and where they come from. And in delving into that has been where it's really helped me a great deal to put my change first. And the simplicity of that is that quantum physics tells us that whatever we are emitting is actually what is going out into the world and creating our life. So in actual fact, it starts here. If I'm not at peace, then the synchronicity in my life starts to deconstruct. And when things are going beautifully, I come in and I put the radio on, and spirit plays me music that actually talks to me, gives me signs, answers questions I've just literally finished talking about. Because yes, I talk to the air as if it's going to answer me back, and hey presto, guess what it does. So I've become aware of the fact that perhaps we all are Harriet Potter. I am being a girl, or Harry Potter if you're a guy, and these are my 10 wands, and I'm quite serious, and I'm being an absolute goof all at the same time, because I can manage the two. Multitasking. But it also has shown me, because coming to energy, the use of energy healing, and the understanding that it might actually be a really good idea to change about the perspective of how I looked at life, and come at life from the point of view of, if I'm energy and the next person is energy, and that table is energy, this computer is energy, the chair I'm sitting on is a frequency or a wave pattern or a vibration, and we're just different densities, then we can tweak them too. And this is exactly why we're all wizards. We just have different perspectives on ourselves. How can we utilize that to change how our emotions feel? Well, the emotions are really very key. And little illustration, sometime back in history, a baby was on the way, and that baby had a little twin sister right beside them, and it was going to be twin girls in life. And that was how it looked for at least the first 8 weeks. And then possibly around that time, things started to go uncomfortably. And one of those little babies just passed away, and the mother may not have even known that baby slipped with what they call a show. And in those days, that kind of medical diagnostic capability was minimal. So it's hard to know whether the mother was aware that that meant that instead of twins, they were now going to have a single child. The single child was born, and the child just cried and cried and cried. They'd eat and they'd sleep only at the last thing because they were just crying. Well, what was going on? Baby was in grieving, feeling masses and masses and masses of loss. So the way that immense experience, and it's only one of a lifetime of different things. The father of that child moved out of her life at 15. And that meant, because the government in those days did not have support for single people, the way that the man had died and his attitude to leaving and providing for his 2 women, not there. And so they were left in a very, very depleted state financially, which naturally impacted on how that person was able to grow into life and feel, were there resources for them to go and do things? Various other life experiences had happened, and along the way that person gathers belief systems that go with it, but also the emotions are parked with it. And so every memory, just like a garden, you've got beautiful plants and lots of lovely happy memories and so on. We only really need to weed out the weeds, but we want them to come out, roots and all, because if we don't, if we only prune them, what does pruning do? Promotes growth. Well, no, not so what we would want if they're weeds. And we want to be able to preserve the good plants in life, the happy memories, and make those blossom for us and make ourselves feel valuable, worthwhile, so that we can get ourselves out into life. And tenacity comes into it. It's a very good, useful thing. So this little baby in grieving grew to be quite a tenacious person as a flip side to that. And it took a long while, several decades, before the energy came into their life. And that way, looking at what the feelings and the emotions were that were uncomfortable, and the avoidances we go through, trying to keep away from them until we are fully aware of them. They stay under the surface, bubbling away like weeds take a while to grow in a garden, like if you're making a stew, there are certain ingredients that just simmer away in there, and it ends up being sweet and sour, and you weren't planning on it being like that, but that's what life feels like, sweet sometimes, sour at other times. And as you guess, of course, this is me I'm speaking about. So once I got to the point where the energy tools turned up, the trainings happened, and I got to know this and I learnt that, and I opened up, and the left brain knowing was really, really useful. However, the actual energy processes were traveling down the lines of those lines of distressful, hurtful emotions, and going to the place where the circuit was broken, where my twin sister Rose died out of my life, and all of the disturbing factors of not feeling like I had the person who was going to accompany me. And therefore, the opposite was all by myself. Well, that little phrase has echoed through my life in all sorts of different ways, some not so good, and some have been an impetus to move me forward and say, well, I'm going to do it anyway. If I have to do it by myself, I'm still going to do it. So I would. When the energy processes really started to ramp up, I began to ask them what needed to change so that I could understand what was going on to a degree, but also I began to realize the energy processes were doing far more healing in me than my mind had any understanding of. So like David said, I got to, and Lana both said that I got to a place where that I could just stay steady and calm to another person's disturbances. I was not like that to start with. I was highly, I would describe myself as being a diva in those early years of my childhood and so on. Definitely a hard little number for my mother to have to deal with. And I grew out of that for the simple reason that the healings that I started to take on board with myself and address myself, because I recognized it actually wasn't anything outside of me. It wasn't anything outside of me at all. It had to do with what was going on in me that was feeling very much not like peace. And when they say, oh, you just want love and joy and peace in your life, and all you've got to do is you've got to stop doing this and you've got to just let go. And I'm listening to those people and thinking, if they were just a little closer, I'd king hit them, because I cannot let that go. It is so holding on to me. And what do you do with that? So these energy processes, I kept on saying to them, I need you to do better. Bring me more complete. Show me tools that are going to do this more efficiently, easier, self-applied, so that I can get up and go and have a lovely tour, go to Africa perhaps, and go on a safari and have my tools with me, so that if something happens that's distressing, I'm going to be calm and steady all the way. Just like you eat food 3 meals a day, so you can have tools that actually reconstruct how you're feeling and change your emotions, but do it permanently. So that's what I did. And so what I'd say to people who want to know, how do I do that for myself? Same way, use some energy tools. Will we get better at doing this? Will it become easier as we raise our vibration and spiritually change? Because the energy tools do all of that with you and for you anyway, raise your vibration anyway. And yes, the answer is we will get past needing to use tools and things like that. But here's the thing, they're damn good at this moment in time, and it's a really good, useful thing to go about doing that when given that we can. So what would I suggest to you? There are some excellent things that you can do on the internet. As Lana and David mentioned, I utilize the healing codes. I've been using those for about 16 of the 27 years I've been doing energy. And I have found that just with my own progress, there have been little shifts in tools and processes and very, very simple little movements that you can do with yourself that have actually invented things. So for instance, a person who's an empath or a sensitive who goes into a party and finds that being around people is uncomfortable a bit. They're feeling a lot of people's energy. Some people don't like being in parties, and so they're putting on a good face, they're having a lovely time, but inside their gut is just going, "Ugh." And the empath is sitting there thinking, oh, that he feels so uncomfortable. There are very, very simple, take a few moments only, shifts and changes and exercises that people can do to completely renegotiate their whole energy field. If they would like to do that, it doesn't take long. Grounding is another thing. A lot of people feel ungrounded in how they are, and that too, just a few moments to show people how to use their hands and understand that the amount of energy that comes out of each of the tips of the fingers is far greater than the whole hand applied like flat to the body. I'm doing it on my face because you can see that. And the processes that utilize that will work with the energy, change the energy, but not necessarily will it go to where you would like it to go. And sometimes it goes to other places as well. So we can use our fingertips and the nails because they emit immense amounts of energy and create change in ourselves. If we fall over, scrape our leg on the side of a chair and cut it and bleed it, we can stop the bleeding. We can do all sorts of simple little things that are repair things. And of course, they're going to make you feel calmer, which of course does what? Brings in your peace. If you have people around you who are not very comfortable people to deal with, but you're there, you're at work, got to stay around them, they're going to be doing their job, you're trying to do yours, got to try and fit together, the meeting happens, they're not being comfortable and you're sitting there grating your teeth, that sort of thing too, all mendable. And the quickest little verbalization I would suggest to you is called Ho'oponopono. The purity of that is extremely simple and straightforward. And the internet can show you, because this chat is just a chat, not a teaching tool, but that is there for you to utilize if you would like to. I add things like the tools that have shown themselves, invited themselves into my life and shown me what to do and helped me to synchronize myself better and align better with calmness, because absolutely, I put on the news. Sometimes I hear the news when I put on the radio because it just happens to be at the top of the hour and I hear a few things going on. It's not comfortable. We have just been put into lockdown as of 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon. It is not that comfortable. And so what did I do? Come home and use my energy tools to readjust me and bring that calmness back to an equilibrium and let that settle into a place where it actually blends and strengthens me, so that when I pull away from my fingers, they don't dislodge. The strength is there in me. That is how energy works. Now, how does that make a difference out there? Every single change you make to yourself that brings you and your heart to a kinder, gentler place, and you can talk to your heart, your body, every cell of you listens. Something out there listens. And for some people, they believe in God. Some people believe in the universe. It is all perhaps the same thing, a supreme consciousness. And I've been talking to that for a very long time and find that somehow or other, if I'm observing my life, myself, the answers just turn up and they drop in front of me and it's like, oh, wow. And I was just asking and there it is. That's exactly how the healing codes as a program came into my life at a time when I knew that the tool I was using, which was just the simple tapping process at that time, which was wonderful, got me through enormous amounts of stuff. But I knew that it needed my left brain to run it. Predominantly requires the left brain. Lots of tools, energy tools need the left brain to decide or recall memory data. Well, what if that memory data isn't yours at all? It's somebody else's, because we've got ancestors and threads of those important people in our lives. Different things might influence our body with congenital diseases and so on. We can now deconstruct what links us up to those people. We can break those and realign ourselves to a calm place. Now, this is a very special thing to be able to say. When you do that with you, you then are becoming more and more that you do this, a beacon of lightness. Your own self lightens and you feel more loving. So you are emitting that too. So your power is love, light, truth, and trust. Call in truth and trust and insist that that be the thing that you are given all of the time. And with the emitting of that out from you, it goes everywhere. It is an instant change to the rest of the universe as soon as you adjust your vibration. So if you have people in your personal home area and you decide to utilize these tools on yourself, change your energy, they have to change themselves. Something in them starts to vibrate slightly differently. And it might make them angry to start with. It might make them a bit cheesed off that it goes that way. And that's okay. You are the one that you have to live steady and calm, because guess what? You don't live in anybody else. So if you change yourself, that's rippling straight out into the rest of the world. The more your focus is on saying, please bless this incredibly silly situation that we have in this world with pure light, pure love, pure truth, and pure trust, you've made a very good start.
Such wise words, such wise words, Susan. And look, we can attest to
we've seen it.
The power of the healing codes. We use it every day. Yeah. Susan, is there a website that people can go to who are interested in how to use the healing codes and Ho'oponopono and all your other energies?
Certainly. The website that I have, yes, technically it does need some help at the moment, but you can definitely get in contact with me. And it is very simply www.thehealingcodes.com.au. And I would also suggest that if you want to know more about it, please do go to Dr. Alexander Lloyd, 1L. Lloyd, alexanderlloyd.com. And there's a wide range now. The Healing Codes were founded in 2001 and they were brand new human knowledge. And since then have been tested. There's some blind studies that are on Dr. Alex's resources link in that website. And you'll find that more and more there's some that they're looking at what's going on with the healing codes and noticing this process actually changes and goes to the circuit breakers, rewires the circuit breakers up so that they are permanently held together and working for you. And that basically is you got your electrician, send him to work. and yes, Lana and David are a perfect example, because two dynamic, different people who, of course, have had their times when things haven't been all that comfortable. But, you know, that's one of the things I respect about you two, how you manage when things are sometimes at their most difficult, and you ring me up and we sort it in short order. And the flexibility with which you work with one another is a testament to why you guys are so amazingly successful and can produce something like this. And I just respect you so much. So it's not a mutual admiration society. It's come out of genuine, really important application to ourselves individually, and then to you two as a couple, and me as somebody willing to get in there and just be the rock that needs to stay steady and weed out the BS and get back down to the real stuff.
Working on a relationship is very much a reflection of working on ourselves,
right?
And working on the energy inside of us, and working on, and of course this is about peace. We're working on the peace that you have with another person, be it your children, be it your spouse, be it someone else, someone in your community. and bringing that conflict that you have, sorting that out so that the conflict with that other person and the conflict within yourself goes, is such an important thing to do. Being a master of energies.
Right.
And then it ripples out from you from there. And then that means that you are constantly putting out a new frequency of calm and peace into the world. And that grows. The more of us that do that, that grows. There are disasters that happen. And I remember seeing a television report about it was in the snowfields of Australia, and many died, and people on the opposite hillside looking at how this massive slide had just crushed a whole little village in the Alpine. People standing there were just saying, oh, what can we possibly do? And I was here at home saying, plenty. Hold hands, sit in a vortex, focus on your heart, pour love out of your heart and just send it straight across over there. What you vision, you create. And as a collective, connected with one another, and then in a vortex, that would have just risen up and gone straight over there, because that's where their focus is. We all can do this. We can do this anytime towards any disturbance of any kind, or disturbing person who's around us as well. I hope that helps.
Wonderful words, Susan. Thank you very much. Lovely. You know, that's very really practical interventions to create peace.
Yeah, I still use Ho'oponopono in my head when I'm going places. I love you, please forgive me, thank you, I'm sorry. You know, you can only be, I mean, you're not the only one here, you know this, but you can't be enraged forever. You can't be the Incredible Hulk forever. The Incredible Hulk, I'm sort of latched onto this, it's a good example, it's symbolic. He didn't stay the Incredible Hulk forever. Eventually the rage came and, you know, let's flatten everything. And then eventually the Hulk turns back into Dr. Bruce Banner and back into the little scientist, because it's not long lasting. You expend a great amount of energy pushing forward. And I do this, as Susan knows, I'm not the exception to the rule here. I get into that as well at times when I see injustices. You know, it's natural.
Absolutely, it is. While we've got anger in ourselves, we are going to react with anger. While we've got grief in ourselves, we are going to react with that. While we think badly about ourselves, we're going to put that out to other people, because hard attituded ourselves and being convinced that we need to be we need to push through things. We need to be strong, you know. Oh, it hasn't been going well in my life. Oh, come on, darling, be strong. And I say, no, be real. Be real with yourself. If your heart hurts, mend it and move on. These things don't anymore take a long time. And what you feel after that is you start to feel more kind towards yourself, and the kindness builds, and it just fills your tank with more and more and more and more love. So that's exactly why you get to that place of being steady and calm while other people throw a hissy fit. And you can then sit there and embrace them and say, there, it's going to be okay. Let's just do this to do the cleaning out of those negative feelings and emotions, and permanent changes happening at the same time. That's a very, very important thing, because we don't have to live in hard attitude ourselves any longer. We are good people. It takes a while to get that, and are also people who can do and put out good things. But just healing yourself will do a massive amount more than you're thinking that you're having to go out there and do anything. I love that. I love the simplicity of it.
Galenberg talked about that. He said, you know, you deplete yourself of energy. Joe Galenberg with Monroe Institute, he's all about, you know, he takes spoons and they melt. I've seen this. I know people think that's impossible, but I have seen it with my own eyes, you know, using energy. This is what he does. He spoke earlier and he said, people operate from a depleted state. And you and I have talked about this, and you've given me advice on this. You know, when you're depleted, you're drawing energy from everyone else. Well, let's bring everyone else into my depleted state so that I can draw upon them to reach my objectives. And then that actually kind of deters you from what you're actually really want to accomplish, but you don't see it at the time because it's a state where you can become, you don't know.
That's an illusory state, and this is stepping out of the illusion. And I love, Susan, how you say, don't be strong, be real. I love that. And paradoxically, being real is actually a stronger state, because you're feeling the emotion, you're respecting and loving yourself, and then you can fill yourself up again, and that's strength, isn't it? So thank you very much.
The song doesn't call itself The Power of Love for nothing. It is a massive, massive power. And if we shift our change agent from, going out and doing a run to coming home and doing yoga and the 5 Tibetans and Pilates that are much kinder to our bodies, we're going to live better, live longer, and live more flexibly. Hello. Because running is such a rigid, hard way to exercise. And it is just that while you feel like you want to run, that is your best signpost saying, hello, self, you are still stuck in a lot of hard attitude at yourself. And you think you have to be a warrior. Well, no, because if you think that peace is going to be achieved through war, I mean, that is like, there's a little saying, and I know it's a little bit risque, but it's the simplicity of it is that fighting for peace is like effing for war, and or for virginity, I beg your pardon, I got it wrong. Fighting for peace is like effing for virginity. And when you hear that, you just think, oh, bang, on goes the light. What was I doing? And this helps. Now we have some tools that are really quick and quite easy, very calming most of the time, and bring us out of that, and can do it in a very short order, as David was saying before, with Ho'oponopono, but there are many others as well. And watching people change. I trained in San Diego for 4 days doing a total wizard course. The most amazing, funniest person to learn from is Richard Bartlett, and he was teaching us matrix energetics at the time, and I've utilized a couple of different processes that he has taught me, and kept those going because the simplicity of that was so good. But watching him just stand there, put his hands on a person and move his other hand around a little bit, chat to them nicely, make them laugh and everything, and then watch them fall back in the arms of one of his helpers and lie down with the giggles while their electrical system just completely recalibrated. Then they'd stand back up again, and where their one shoulder might have been up, or their hips might have been crooked, or their back or spine, they were all nicely calibrated in neat order. Watching that happen right before your eyes is just so heartening. You think, yes, it is possible. Change is really, truly possible. Everything has the possibility to change. We've just got to get more skillful. We're getting there.
Years that I've known you, I've never once heard you say, I've said things to you like, is my fear unreasonable? Is my anger unreasonable? Should I not are you telling me to not take action on this stuff? You've never said that. You've never said, I've heard you say, no, your fears are always reasonable and they're coming from other events in your life. And no, I'm not telling you to not do something about the situation. So that's an important point, because I think I know what's happening in the world. I know there are people, I keep saying this over and over with every speaker. Yes, there are people that are destitute. Their rights are being violated. They're being tortured. No one is saying don't do something about that. Just to be clear.
It's what you do. And you can stay at home and just put your focus into your heart and sit there and think about that person and resonate love with the vision of that person in your mind, if you happen to know them, or just describe the situation by the thought walking across your mind, and your love goes directly to that person. Einstein proved this with Podolsky and Rosen in 1935-ish. And they did a number of exercises where basically they called it spooky action at a distance. Don't you love it? Very scientific, spooky action at a distance. Well, it jolly well is, because that action that you are doing of focusing on that other person and loving them. If your child is away from you and you don't get to see them, of course you want to think about them. Think lovingly about them, because what will that do? Empower them. And they will do better. It lifts their skill sets, lifts their decision-making processes, because they feel the love. They may not cognitively be aware of it, and yet they may just be, if they're also a sensitive being like yourself. So
we know from experiments with plants that if you have several plants and you send loving feelings to one plant and not so loving feeling to the other plant wilts. The plant that you love thrives and survives. This energy is real. So there is so much that we can do from our heart.
Which goes into focusing on what you create rather than fueling what you don't want. And that's right. Another concept there.
Well, thank you very much, Susan, for coming on our show. Love you.
You're very welcome.